Hi, I'm Stuart. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Welcome back. Thanks for viewing my video. In this video, I'm going to give my reading wrap up for the 2 weeks ending 2/28/2026. I completed one book in this period, so I'll talk briefly about that book. I read parts of 3 other books, so I'll talk briefly about those 3 other books. I'll talk about my reading plans for the upcoming week. I'll talk about the videos I released. I'll talk about the crochet projects I worked on. I'll talk about the video games I'm playing. I'll talk about the music I listen to. And I'll talk about some other things going on in my life too. The book I completed was Merrick by Anne Rice. I thought this was one of the 2 December/January books we're reading for the Vampire Chronicles group, a group moderated by Elaine Dragon. In addition to me, there's 2 other members in the group. But I was wrong. We were only reading The Vampire Armand, which I completed a little earlier. But I did complete Merrick. I talked about this previously, but Merrick is a very powerful witch who's a member of the Talamasca at the beginning of the book. She meets with David Talbot at his request. He wants her to call the, I guess we'll say, ghost of Claudia at the request of Louis. The book goes back in time to when David Talbot first met Merrick when she was 13, and then goes forward. An issue I had with this book is that David Talbot, even when he was a human before he became a vampire, he sexualized a 13-year-old, and I had a problem with that. I did have problems even through the book with the relationship between Merrick and David Talbot, even when she was an adult. It was kind of a strange relationship. Overall, I did enjoy the book. Probably going to be a 4-star read. A little slow paced, but still a worthwhile read. Hopefully in the not too distant future I'll do a review of it. A book I started and read most of is Game Changer by Rachel Reid. Actually, as I'm recording this video, it's Saturday, February 28th. I will probably finish this book by the end of the day, but I'm not quite there yet. At the beginning of this book, Kip Brady is working in a smoothie shop. In walks a man who, a little sweaty, he is just done with a run and he wants to get a smoothie. And Kip is very attracted to him. Kip is a casual hockey fan, but he learns from another customer who was coming in when Scott Hunter was going out that Scott is the captain and star player for the New York Admirals. The book does refer to the Professional Hockey League as the National Hockey League, and the cities are those that National Hockey League teams play in, but they use different names. I'm not sure why they use Admirals instead of New York Rangers, but they do. So over time, Scott comes several more times to the smoothie shop, and there's an attraction between them, and they start a relationship. Kip is very out, but Scott is closeted. A big reason because the National Hockey League, although on one hand is teams have pride nights and they seem to be open to queer relationships, on others they're still kind of, I don't know, not what I would consider modern in it. So Scott doesn't want to come out. I won't say anything anymore. The story talks about how the relationship develops and where it ends up. I'm not actually at the end, so I don't quite know that yet, but I very much enjoyed it. I will say this book has a tremendous amount of spice, probably the most I can recall reading. I do think it is well written, and I didn't find it boring like I do in some books. but there is a lot of it. And that's something that I would certainly consider a content warning for people. I did feel that the descriptions of hockey games, the players, were pretty accurate. I'm not a recent hockey fan. I was a hockey fan from about 75 to late 90s when a team played in Hartford, Connecticut called the Hartford Whalers, and they moved. They were a National Hockey League team. But it seems accurate. My one little quibble about that is the author, I think, described things really well as far as hockey goes, but didn't always give a result. Like, she might talk about a game and something happened in it, and she didn't give a result of it, didn't give the final score. Minor quibble, because I know that's not why most people read a romance like this, but it was just something that I would have liked a little more. If you're playing a game, give the final score. Don't just say something that happened during that game. Overall, you could tell what happened with the team, but I just would have liked a little more, filling in a little more of the details. The story was told in third-person POVs from both Scott and Kip. The one thing that got a little confusing for me, though, was that typically when an author does that, they alternate chapters. In this case, within the chapters, the POV frequently shifted, and that was a little confusing to me. I had to read some things over again to make sure whether it was Scott or Kip talking. Overall, this is going to be a 4.5 read for me. I'm really happy I read. I'm definitely going to read Heated Rivalry, the second book of the series, pretty soon. Another book I started this week is Raining Men's and Corpses, a Raina Sun Mystery #1 by Ann R. Tan. I had previously read the third book in the series. In this book, Raina Sun is a graduate student. She has an undergraduate engineering degree, and she's working on a master's degree, I believe, in computer science. She goes to her graduate advisor requesting that he return some money she let him borrow. She is working on the estate of one of her ancestors, and it is a disputed estate, and the lawyer is demanding money. It's costing a lot of money to work through the estate requirements. She had an affair with this graduate advisor, and I recognize that's not the smartest thing to do, but she did that, and she let him borrow some money. She sees some strange things related to this graduate advisor, and then when she goes to see him, the receptionist comes very upset out the room of the graduate advisor, and it turns out the graduate advisor is dead. And the detective assigned to investigate the case is Raina's former husband. She didn't know he was back in town. She lives in a small town not far from San Francisco. So, interesting setup to the book. One thing I will say is the book is self-published, and I don't know if anyone else was involved in it, even editing it. And I noticed in the previous book of this series, I read #3, that was the case, in this case too. There's little things that become noticeable, and especially mystery readers are probably very likely to be ones who look deeply into things and really notice inconsistencies. But overall, I'm enjoying this book, and I realize it's not fair to hold somebody too accountable if they're the only one involved in the book, or even if somebody else is and there's not much money available to pay people. But I think only the authors involved. The third book I read part of is the Complete Tales of H.P. Lovecraft by H.P. Lovecraft. If you've been watching me for a while, you know I've been reading this book on and off for months. I pick it up when I feel like I want to take a break from my other books. I'm not the greatest sleeper. I suffer from insomnia, and sometimes I try to sleep through it and just lie in bed and try to get back to sleep, but sometimes I recognize it's not going to happen for a while, so I sit up and read for an hour or so. And the past few days, that's been the case. So I've been getting a lot of reading done in the heart of the night. That's why that's why I started reading the Complete Tales of H.P. Lovecraft, because just was feeling like something different. I'm currently reading one of his more famous tales, The Dunwich Horror. I'm almost done with that. Really enjoying the stories once I got past the first few, which didn't work great. Worked okay for me, but didn't bring back the memory of how I remembered Lovecraft's stories. The live chat discussion for the Vampire Chronicles group to discuss the Vampire Armand took place Saturday the 21st. It was a really good discussion. I'll try to remember to put the link in the description of this video in case you want to watch the replay. We brought up some topics that we might not have considered and raised some possible issues. We all weren't crazy about the fact that in the Vampire Armand, a several thousand years vampire started a physical relationship with a boy who was probably 15 at the time, recognizing that it's 500 years ago, but still it made us uncomfortable. Overall, we all did enjoy the book, but it's a very interesting discussion. So if you, like I say, I'll try to remember to put the link in the description of this video in case you want to watch it. As far as my plans for the upcoming week, I think it will be to continue reading Raining Men and Corpses. I'll select another book too, probably to read. I'm not quite sure what that book is. Mostly I've just been reading one book so far this year. So I'll probably pick one to focus on, and Raining Sun and Men will be a secondary book as I read when I want to take a break perhaps from whatever my primary book is. I do want to hopefully maybe try to get back to reading more book club books. I really fell off the cliff on reading books for the Fable book clubs I'm part of, although some of them have become inactive. But I do want to get back reading some more book club books. Now I just want to talk about the videos I released in the past couple of weeks. The first was beginning of the year book tag 2026. The second was opening book mail. The third was reading wrap-up for the week ending 12/14/2026. We had a snowstorm Sunday, February 22nd into Monday, February 23rd. I took a couple of videos of that snowstorm. One of the places I posted them was the Fright Club Discord, the Discord of Cliff at Cliff's Dark Gems, and Nicole at Nicole's Bookish Nook saw the videos and suggested they would make good shorts. I had never published any shorts before. I was a little afraid of pushback. Some people have said they get more trolls on their shorts than they do in the regular videos. But it seemed like a good idea to do shorts for the first time. And Nicole was really dead on. She said that people like snow and it's kind of cozy. And I got, on the first one, I got 1.2K views. And the second one, I got 695 views. From the time I started posting BookTube videos, I've only had one video more than those numbers. So it was a great suggestion by Nicole. I appreciate it. Thank you, Nicole. And I am definitely going to try to do more shorts, recognizing possibly book ones do get some pushback, I don't know. But I really got good numbers and I'm really happy about that. Next video I published is the Filmtastic February book tag. Then 2025 book releases I read in 2025. And the last was my favorite authors I discovered in 2025. I decided to do the last two videos after I watched videos by Melody at Melody's Book Nook where she did these type videos. I thought they were a good idea. Thanks, Melody. One thing I should say too is that my reading wrapper for the week ending 12/14/2026 got 200 views. That's high for me. So it's really good. It's my best week, certainly since I started posting booktube videos as far as views go. Way more than any other week. So I'm happy about that. Next I want to talk about the crochet projects I worked on. The first is the puff stitch. The first is the puff stitch scarf, a pattern from Everyday Crochet, The Complete Beginner's Guide by June Gilbang. It's over 6 feet long, so I think the best way I can show it is by trying to stand up so you can see it. I think it came out pretty well. It is the most time-consuming project I've done since I started crocheting, but it was relaxing once I got going, because basically you do, although the stitch itself is difficult because there's 7 loops on the hook and you try to pull through an 1/8, but once I get going it's like you do 9, do a chain 2 and turn, and do 8, and so on and so forth, so it's very relaxing. The next crochet project I worked on is the Melt the Ice hat. I had several misstarts because the pattern called for doing slip stitches for this part of it, and I tried several times. I thought I got it, but then the number was off, so I decided to start a different way. They gave a second option on the pattern to do it with single crochet stitches, and that went really well. As with a puff stitch scarf, it's kind of relaxing doing that. This is only part of the hat, but this part of it is mostly done. Next I want to talk about the video games I'm playing. I played some of Fantasy Life I, The Girl Who Steals Time. Although I'm probably not done with it, some of it was becoming a little repetitive, so I decided to start another game that I had. That is Wildflowers. In this game, the heroine travels to an island where her grandmother lives. Her grandmother runs a farm, but it's not going too well, and she needs assistance. There are 25 other residents of the island. They all have unique personalities, and the game does a pretty good job of kind of leading you through and giving you hints what to do while still providing a reasonable challenge. Early on, the heroine discovers she has the potential to be a witch. There's things you have to do which are typical in games like this: fishing, planting, raising crops, collecting wood, using a pick to chop up ore and rock deposits to get things from them, selling stuff to get funds that you need, and interacting with the other residents of the town. And as you do so, you build your rapport with them. So I've played about 3 days. It's a very fun game. I'm quite enjoying it. As I said, I'm sure I'm not done with Fantasy Life I, but I was looking to try something different. I do want to get back playing Sudoku too. I don't think I played any this 2-week period. If I did, it was really at the beginning of the week. Next, I want to talk about the music I listen to. I mainly listen to Metallica, Rammstein, and The Offspring. I previously mentioned we had a snowstorm. There was a blizzard warning. It didn't end up. There was actually a blizzard where I am, but the southern part of Connecticut, it was officially a blizzard, and Rhode Island, it was a blizzard, and Boston was a blizzard. So it was a blizzard close to where we are, but not quite where we are. Most places got more than we did. We got 8 inches of snow. I'll put the metric equivalent. I'll look up the metric equivalent and put that in the little text. And it wasn't as, it was windy, but it wasn't as windy as I feared. We didn't lose power. There weren't any branches down. So although I was nervous about it, we got through it pretty well. I didn't though go. I did go out Sunday, but I didn't go out Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. Overabundance of caution, I guess, but decided not to. I don't want to wish my life away, but maybe I'm kind of really especially looking forward to spring this year. I did the first week that video covers, watched a lot of the Olympics, a lot of the Winter Olympics. I quite enjoyed it. As I said before, I try to really focus on them when they're taking place because I've seen more than I'm going to see in the future. That's just the reality of it. And watched a fair amount of YouTube videos. Not during the 2 weeks of the Olympics. I didn't watch as many because I can only watch so much, but got back to watching a fair amount of them. Did go out a few times. One thing about this snow that makes it a little difficult is like this piles that on sides of driveways, sides of streets, and parking lots and stuff makes sight lines difficult, so that makes me a little nervous. Next, I want to talk about my birthday, which took place on February 22nd. As I'm going to do a little bit of health discussion involved with it, I will put a little text at the bottom of the screen that says health discussion. It's mostly about my birthday because at the age I am, though, kind of have to mention some health stuff. So on February 22nd, I turned 67. It's a rather daunting number. In 2019, an old friend of mine invited me to attend a concert with him at a local casino. He's a regular gambler, so he sometimes gets free tickets, and he treated me actually to a Cheap Trick concert. It was only for gamblers too, which makes it kind of cool. You couldn't buy tickets to it. But somewhere in the evening, he knew my 60th birthday was the next day. He said that once you hit 60, you're not all that far from 70, and he was dead on because now I'm 70% to 70, and it's happened awful quickly since that night we went to the concert. I am in pretty good shape, I guess, for my age. I'm trim. I can walk at a pretty brisk pace for a few miles. I do have an ever-increasing number of doctors. Last year I had added a dermatologist to the group of doctors, but still I feel pretty good. I do go out most days, not when it's snowy, but normally I go out maybe 6 days a week, so I'm not just sitting at home. Have my hobbies and interests, but it is daunting that time passes by so quickly. Don't know how to change that without just being bored, and I don't want that. But when you get older, birthdays, anything you mark, anniversary or whatever, kind of a mixed bag. My mental health does vacillate some, but overall I'm happy with my life. It's just a little daunting, the passage of time. I hope you're having a wonderful reading week. I hope you're having a wonderful week in general. I would be interested in knowing how your recent couple of weeks went, any books you're reading, music you listen to, anything you'd like to share with me. If you would like to, please add a comment. If you can't think of anything else to comment, please add an emoji. I'll let you pick whichever one you want. Of course, you can always do that anyway, of course, but nothing comes to mind at the moment that I think of as an emoji. I hope you have a wonderful reading week. I hope you have a wonderful week in general. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, please subscribe. Please hit the bell to get notified when I upload future videos.